told him it'd be the shortest introduction he's ever had. So if you're here, you know who he is. And so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Terry Ruth. How are you guys?
This is truly the most exciting crowd that I've ever been to because you're here on a virtual day or you're the principal favorite and you're here and the rest of your staff. I love that. Y'all know all the offices are not here. They just chose the favorites that are here. That's great. I absolutely love that. Super excited to be here. So thrilled to be able to be here and so thankful that they have reached out to other schools and community for us to be able to gather together. If you happen to not know who I am, I put a video up 5 years ago about what principals do on snow days. Me being in the building by myself, playing in the gym, in the little hoops, sleeping in the pillows in the library. I call it the headlight zone where all the headlights rose. And that video went viral. I just continue to put videos up of what we deal with in education. And I've just amassed a huge following on social media, which has enabled me to be able to go all over the United States and speak. I say the word because I've been to Canada. So all over the world to speak. And I have 2 goals today. My first goal is for you. As an individual, whether you're a teacher or a coach, whether you're a school nurse or a principal, no matter what your position is, my first goal is for you. For you to walk out of here with 1 or 2 things that you might need to hear to be able to get you through the school year. My second goal is for your work family, for your grade level, for your department, maybe for your whole school. I know having done this for 5 years, I'm going to say something and you're going to think, okay, the third grade team needs to talk about that. The English department needs to talk about that. My second goal is to give you something to talk about with your work family beyond today, because I know I'm going to hit some hot topics that your group, your family, your grade level, your department needs to talk about. So my second goal is to give you something to talk about beyond this day. The biggest question that I always get is this difficult speaking to different groups of people. We've got preschool all the way up to high school here. We have teachers that are working with kids that stay here overnight. We've got first-year teachers. We've got 42-year veteran educators in the room here. It's never difficult to speak to these group of educators, basically because of this video right here. That work? See, this is kind of fancy here. Ooh, look.
No, it's not. You're going to have to restart that from up there.
On my way home from work today, I realized I have to ask myself a question that no educator wants to ask, but yet we are supposed to ask on a regular basis. This question goes to show exactly what kind of life we live as educators, and it's this: did I have chocolate today? Unfortunately, I'm very stressed because the answer is no. I didn't have chocolate today.
That is the life we live. That's literally every single person in the room here. No matter who it is you are, no matter who it is you are, no matter what it is you are, what is that? Do I lick it? Do I smell it? What is it? It doesn't make difference if you're a football coach or you're a preschool teacher. We've all dealt with that. And so I can go anywhere and speak to a group of nurses, and then I can speak to a group of secretaries because we're all dealing with the same thing. And I want to start by talking about people just don't get it. People don't get what you're going through today. If you have friends or loved ones that are not educators, I call those people others. If you have others in your life, you don't have too many of those. If you have others in your life, your friends that are not educators don't get what we're going through. It's very stressful to go home and talk to a loved one that's not an educator and talk about how stressful your day was, or how crazy a parent was, or something we're dealing with politically. And they don't get that. I have 3 adult children. One of them is an educator, 2 of them are not. Guess who my favorite is? But it's very stressful to go home to my boys and talk about how crazy my day is and get them blank stares. You know why? Because they don't understand what I'm going through. But you know what? My daughter gets everything I'm going through because she's in education. I'm always amazed when my non-educator friends will say to me, hey, where are you getting your material for your videos? I'm like, no, I'm showing them to work. And they're like, no, you're a comedian, you're making that up. Where do you get your ideas from? And what they don't get is literally every video I put up is tried. I don't make up videos. I either get it from you messaging me on social media, or it's actually happening and they don't get that. They truly think that they're all made up. This video got the most responses from my non-educator friends messaging me saying, that's a great example of a video that you just put up to be funny, because there's no way that's a true video. So as this video plays, ask yourself, have these things happened in my school? And I'll go ahead and give you the answer. Yes, all these things have happened in your school as well as mine.
Or your school group secretary, I can call on second place. Hey, Brittany, why you play? Why you write your white play? Your dad was flipping? No, don't write that down. Just flip it on the other sled. Check your dad's group on some time. Or at least how can I help you What time your child had lunch, I can check who's your child's teacher. What do you mean on that? What grade are they in? What do you mean on that? Make sure you know about a child. It's a lady teacher. What I don't know right now. How about this? When your child is on the bus today, you can figure out which one's your child after your teacher is calling as far as you know, hey, then one late, right here, put traffic. Your mama tell you put traffic, there ain't no traffic. There'll be a lot of kids stuck in traffic. So mama will get up right here in front of the class. Oh, but you still, how can I help you? What we have for lunch today, let's say pizza, you gotta bring some animal crackers. Like, when you won't bring your child to lunch because they won't eat that. Who's in charge of your house? I think they should be eating whatever you bring them in charge. Picky eater, well, okay, you have to go bring it up there. All right, that's your teacher. Miss Kane, snowflakes, mom, like, bring it for lunch. Hello, Miss Johnson, Miss Secretary. How long did you take attendance? Yeah, it's our day. We do it our day. I'm not sure why you need to take clothes on today. If you take clothes on, you remember that you should be able to run more attendance. Y'all want to do right now? Okay. Or we just how can I help you? Yeah, okay. Whose mom is this? Stevens? Okay. You going on vacation early? You want to let his teacher know so she can gather at work. Well, why are you going on vacation early? That's the calendar's been set for about a year. Okay, you want to go see Vermont's like a year, 4 days early. Okay, well, here, let me write a note. Mr. Brown, Stevens on the call. She'd be glad to spend 3 or 4 hours gathering her work and work 2 weeks early so he can more vacation. Don't bring a reading log so she can sign it and act like her child read. That's not good. Hello? Yeah, is this April's mama? Yeah, she's not in school today. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry for waking you up from a nap. She's not in school today. All right. Oh, she's sick. Okay. She got fever. No. Okay. She's throwing up. No. Okay. Well, why do you think she's sick? Oh, she told you she was sick and she needed to stay home. Okay. What's she doing right now? Okay. Watching TV and playing some board games. All right. Will you tell her I'm sending the Easter Bunny over your house later with her homework? Oh, you don't believe that? Okay. You just seem to be somebody that's believe a lot of things they should be believing.
That's literally what we go through every single day, and people just don't get that. Though your secretaries have answered those exact same phone calls, and our friends that are not educators believe that all those are made up, and literally all those things are true life in our world today. And so that's my first challenge for you. You got to find someone to get you. And I've already set the stage to say that we all understand each other. We've all gone up with job for ourselves. Let me tell you the person I'm talking about in your life. I love my staff. I have an amazing staff. My SR officer is one of my best friends. My librarian is my gossip queen. She gossips. She sends me gossip all day long. She just texted me a few minutes ago about some things that are going on in school that I'm not aware of. My daughter's a speech path. I talk to her all night long about something she's dealing with. But nobody understands the stress I go through better than an elementary school principal. And so do you know what I've done? I built professional relationships with other elementary school principals. Do you know why? Because when I message them, they know exactly what I'm going through. And so that's what I'm talking about in your life. You've got to find someone that understands you. And you've already got somebody that's around here. And a lot of you, I've already taken a picture with the kindergarten team, with the third grade team, and you've already got that. But you know what? Some of you are little rangers because you're the only school secretary. You're the only assistant principal. You're the only something in your building. And if you are the only one in your building that does your job, here's my challenge for you. Go on the internet and find somebody. Find another school and say, hey, I noticed that you're a foreign language teacher in middle school. I'm the only one in my building. Nobody understands you better than someone dealing with your exact same position. Nobody understands teaching 6 weeks worth of physics and having your whole class fail better than another physics teacher. And nobody understands being a cheerleading coach better than a cheerleading coach. And then mamas are crazy. And so whether you're the softball coach or the football coach, whether you're the secretary or the counselor, if you don't have somebody in your building doing the exact same thing you are doing, I challenge you to go on the internet, talk to somebody in the area, because you know what? They are going through the same thing, and they will be able to get you through the school year. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to use my videos to jumpstart a topic that I know help me, and hopefully it will help you, and that you'll walk out here with 1 or 2 things that you might use to be able to get you through the school year. And I want to continue on talking about, how this all started. I'm starting here, my fingers are back there. I want to tell you how all this started. People ask me all the time, did you mean for this to happen? I'm just a back principal, not a Kardashian. I had no idea. I would be on social media talking with all over the place. And it all started from this video. So I was a principal, assistant principal where I'm at now. and I wanted to be a principal, but there were no openings, and so I got hired. So I decided to interview in the surrounding district. And so I interviewed in Bourbon County, Kentucky. Great place to visit. 80% of our nation's bourbon is produced there. They have a bourbon field trip we'll take you on. It's not a school bus, but it's a great field trip they'll take you on. They put you on a charter bus and take you to all the distilleries and give you one shot of bourbon each one. By the time you're done, you're drunk and you're Kentucky. It's the best field trip ever. So I started in Bourbon County, very small district, 3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, 1 high school, 1,200 kids. Best place ever to start my career. You know why? Because we were all dealing with the same families. And I know sometimes you think that's a curse because everybody knows you everywhere, but it's a blessing as an administrator to be able to call the high school and talk to the principal and say, hey, I'm having a hard time with Billy and I can't find his mom. Can you pull Susie, his sister, and let her talk with him? And we were all dealing with the same families. And it was a great place to start my career. And I was there for 7 years. 7 years later, when the principal retired, where I've actually been in Fayette County where I live, I decided to interview and try to get back actually where I lived. So I got hired at my old school. Completely different situation. 36 elementary schools, 14 middle schools, 10 high schools, 56,000 students in my district. So I was jumping into a very different situation, and I was jumping into a very negative situation. They had dropped to novice non-conforming on state testing. They had been novice non-conforming 4 straight years in a row. If they were novice non-conforming in my first year, to be 5 straight years in a row, the State Department was threatening to come in and take over. I don't know what they were going to do. They can't do their own job, but somehow they were going to do my job. I used to say, I'm sure that's not your State Department, but I follow it. You are some crazy people in the State Department. So it's very stressful having somebody that has no idea about education tell you how to do your job. Who knows that better than Obama right now at this point? And so it was a very stressful situation because the State Department was threatening to come in, and I knew I was going to be able to change it. I knew I was going to be able to change the kind of culture for 2 reasons. First and foremost, I know what you find in struggling schools. Do you know what you find in struggling schools? Amazing teachers who are working themselves to death. In fact, sometimes what I found is a school that's struggling has teachers that are working twice as hard as a school across the street that's got a bunch of kids all on grade level. Because it's a lot harder to teach 5th grade when everybody's 2 years more than grade level than when you've got a bunch of kids that are all high flyers. So I knew I had a dedicated staff, but I also knew where my giftedness is. That's my next challenge for you, is do you know where you're gifted? Do you know where you're gifted at? See, the key to you growing, the key to your school growing, the key to your district growing is you being willing to share where you are gifted at. You have to be willing in your school setting to raise your hand in a staff meeting and say, hey, if anybody needs help with parent communication, come and see me because I've got that down. But if you don't have transition kids, would you let me know? Because every time the bell rings or every time we change for a different subject, my kids are going crazy and I'm really struggling. Because whatever you are gifted at, somebody in this room is struggling with. And whatever you are struggling with, somebody in your building already understands that. And the key to you growing as a school, as a district, as a community, the key is you being willing to raise your hand and say, this is where I'm really good at. Because whatever you're struggling with, somebody in this room already knows how to figure that out. And whatever you're really good at, somebody in your building is struggling with, you have to be willing to share that. And I knew stepping into this building that my giftedness matched what they needed. My giftedness was climate culture. I know that's the most important thing in your building. Test scores don't change your climate culture changes your test scores. And if your grade level, if your department, your coaches are not getting along, the only thing you need to do to improve everything in your building is focus on relationships. Because that climate culture will change everything. So I knew I was going to be able to change it, and it literally happened immediately. I was there in July getting ready. The teachers came the first week of August. The very first day the teachers were there, the teacher came in and she said, hey, can I borrow your key to the supply closet? And I said, well, sure, why do you need my key? She said, well, only you and the Nazi secretary have keys to the supply closet. And when we need something, we have to beg her for it. And last week I was at Staples, and she gave me a row of Staples, and I'm out of Staples again. I said, she gave you a row of Staples? She said, oh, it's better than that. She said, the week before, me and my colleague came in to do our multi-boards, so we would have somebody to talk to, and we were both out of Staples, and she popped the row in half and gave each of us half a row of Staples! Can you imagine? And I thought, how horrible would that be to try to do your job and have to beg somebody for the supplies that you read? So I got on there and I said, I want to let you guys know, we're not going off the supply closet this year. Those things were purchased for you. If you need something, please feel free to take them. And if you take the last of something, let the Nazi secretary know so she can return it. I can say that because she was at lunch. I audibly heard in the hallway, ah! Because they had been doing 6 years and haven't having to beg the seventh grade for their supplies. And guess what? She was only doing her job. She's a wonderful secretary. She's the best secretary I've ever had. But she was a very meek and quiet person. And somebody from central office had called and yelled at her for going over $80 on her budget one year. So she was trying to make sure that nobody in central office ever said her name. And so she was trying to monitor everything in that. And that's not the way you can run a school. About an hour later, my fourth grade team came in and we were just having a conversation. The one of you said, "Oh, last week we're not telling me why we came here." She said, "Can you go ahead and issue our copy code so we can make copies for the first week of school?" I said, "Sure, what's a copy code?" She said, "Well, the district has given each one of us a code that we have to enter into the copiers, and we're limited on the number of copies we can make every month. And the third week of every month we run out, so we can't make copies the last week of every month." And I thought, well, how horrible would that be to try to do your job for 4 weeks, but only be able to do your job for 3 weeks because you've been limited on the number of copies you can make. So I got to the office and I said, "I want to let you know we're not going to have copy codes this year. We're going to have another copier. Please just be responsible with your copies because we don't want to go to our school-wide limit and have the district come in and question us about why we're making so many copies." And I audibly heard in the hallway, "Hell yeah!" Literally. So we yelled, "Hell yeah!" the hallway. They were all thrilled. Well, they were all thrilled with me teacher because she always had extra copies and she was like a drug dealer. They used some extra copies. She would like extort things out of your lunch. You need copies, give me the Oreos. I'll give you 50 copies. Small changes. I literally made no big changes. I didn't move anybody's classroom. I didn't change anybody's kids. I didn't move anybody's jobs. I did exactly what the principal before me had set up, except I supported the teachers with climate culture. And literally everything changed. The biggest compliment that I got that year was when subs would come in the building and say, "Wow, this place feels different. Did you know your classroom has a feeling? Your front office, your football field, your basketball court, your gym has a feeling by the way you respect the people sitting around you, by the way you treat your kids, by the way you treat your families. You give off a feeling." And anybody that's been in education for more than 5 years can walk into your place of work and understand exactly what kind of educator you are based on the feeling that your classroom and your office gives out. And the subs are going to say, "Wow, this place feels different." And I know we were having a fantastic school year. Everything was going great. And also we got to April and everything came to a screeching halt. Literally, I could feel tension in the air. I would walk in the building, be the first one in the building, and I could feel the tension without anybody even being there. I had no idea what was going on. Everybody was mad at each other. They were jamming the copier on purpose and giggling as they left the office every day. They were staying out on recess for 45 minutes instead of 15. We'd have game wars with kindergartners and bloody kindergartners every day. They were parking each other's parking spots. You don't have an assigned parking spot. I didn't think you had an assigned parking spot, but you don't have an assigned parking spot. But everybody thought they had an assigned parking spot. They were trying to park in each other's parking spots. "Hey, move down here with the great parks. It's getting mad." And I had no idea what was going on until I had a teacher come in and she said, "Hey, I'm going to let you know I'm not going to be here tomorrow afternoon." She said, "I've got a half-day sub. I've already got my class covered, but I want to let you know in case you were to come to my room." She said, "I'm going back to the doctor to set up my meds and state testing next week." And I did just that. What do I do? Do I laugh or what do I say? And she was serious. And I realized what the problem was that I was in a high-stakes school, in a high-stakes district that put all the pressures on the teachers and the administrators to perform well on state testing, and I have completely missed it. Because I think state testing is the most ridiculous thing we've ever done in education. When I walked in that position, I told my wife, I will not say dad this entire year. I literally had never said the word dad all year round, but here we were in April, and everybody was in a bad mood. I had no idea of what to do. So I get to the building, I'm really early in the morning, about 5 a.m., because you're not there. And so I was in the building the next morning, walking around, trying to figure out what to do, and I got a text message from my art teacher. Kentucky Department of Education does something very intelligent when it comes to state testing. We have to assess our students in a sterile environment. So we have to take all the content off the walls, and we have to cover all the content during testing, which is very intelligent because we teach our kids to use their surroundings, and then we take their surroundings away. How smart is that? The Kentucky Department of Ed goes above and beyond. We have to have sterile hallways. We have to take out all bulletin boards, all student work, everything has to come out of the hallways, which is also very intelligent because it would be cheating on state testing if you went to go pee and learn denominators from a bulletin board. That's cheating on state testing. We can't have cheating. And so, guess what? 3rd through 5th grade in my building understand this. You know why? They are a tested area. For kindergarten through 2nd and special areas, all of a sudden it comes up on them, and they feel the tension, and they get all nervous about it. And so I was walking through the building that morning, I got a text message from my art teacher, and she said, "Hey, I know you're in the building." She said, "Would you stop by my bulletin board and check it out, and let me know if you want me to come in and change it out? I don't want us to get written up." Kentucky Department of Education has hired 60 retired teachers to act as testing police. And they pop in your building during testing, and they write you up if you're doing something wrong. And she was scared that her bulletin board was going to get us written up, and so she wanted to know if she could come in and change that out. And so I thought, you know what, this is a great opportunity to show everybody how silly this is. So this is actually the first video I ever sent out. It's not out on social media, and I sent it out because of the stresses they were under due to state testing.
I can do this.
Oh, no. Going the wrong way.
All right, Mr. Osby, I know you're not used to this because you're an art teacher and everything, but here at Liberty, we don't help students on state testing by leaving things on the wall, okay? So I've noticed that you left some staples in this bulletin board, and when students see staples, they're going to think, like, I went to Staples to get a computer, and there weren't going to be there, and I have to push my way through the door, and so that's an example of stair speed. So we're not going to help our students on Common Core by leaving things up around the school. So this bulletin board and these staples, they need to come down immediately.
So sitting up with the staff, gathered in the library that afternoon, I said I want to apologize because I realized why I would send everybody in a bad mood because you're stressed about state testing. And if I, as the administrator in this building, have done something to put pressure on you for state testing, then I apologize because I can care less. And the bottom line is I already know what's going to happen with state testing. You know why? I'm in your classroom twice a day, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. And I'm watching you teach, and I'm watching your sitters, and I'm helping you with your kids, and I'm seeing what you need, and I watch what you do in your classroom every single day, so I already know what's going to happen on state testing. And if something odd happens on state testing, it's my fault as the administrator, not your fault as the instructional leader. But if you're stressed about state testing, there's only one thing you can do to relieve yourself of that stress. So let me tell you what I said to them and put it in context for you. Whatever it is that you're stressing right now, you've just lost a really good athlete, you don't know how your team is going to be, you've got a new team that day, you don't know if that's working well, your parent is out for pregnancy, you don't know if you're going to be able to do this by yourself. Whatever it is in your job right now that is stressing you, there's only one thing we can do professionally to relieve ourselves from stress that comes with our job, and that's lay your head down every night and say to yourself, I did my very best today with whatever situation I was given, with the kids that I was asked to work with, and there's nothing more I can do. And if every single day, as a coach, as a secretary, as a parent, as a counselor, as an administrator, you are doing your very best with whatever situation you've been given, with whatever kids you've been asked to work with, guess what? There's nothing more that anybody can ask for in this room than your very best. So whether you're a teacher or a superintendent, a parent or a school nurse, all you have to do to relieve yourself of the stress of your job is do your very best. Every single day, with whatever situation you've been given, with whatever kids you've been asked to work with, and there's nothing more that anybody can ask around you than to be able to do your very best. And we've got to be able to accept other people's personalities. Think about what's sitting around you. There are people that are sitting around you that are not like you. The people sitting around you don't go to your church. They don't vote like you. They don't believe like you. They don't eat like you. They don't vacation like you. You were up until midnight on TikTok and they were at bed at 8 o'clock. That's what you're dealing with. Sitting around you in your building with your grade level are people that don't have your same personality. And let me tell you the most important thing you can do this school year, and the most important thing I'm going to tell you today, although I'll say that 3 or 4 times. The most important thing you need to hear from me today is you got to accept everybody in this room. For 2 reasons. First of all, if you can't accept somebody in this room because you don't agree with their lifestyle, you go to church 3 times a week and they don't go at all, you vote Republican and they vote Democrat, if you can't accept somebody sitting in this room, somebody back at your school that the principal didn't like and didn't sit here today, no, just kidding, that's not true. If you can't accept somebody, if you can't accept the people that you work with, you're going to be miserable. You know why? Because you got to be on buses with them to softball games. And you got to go to team meetings with them, you got to go to staff meeting with them. And if you can't accept the people in your building because you don't like their lifestyle, you're going to be miserable. But more importantly, as the educational role models for all the kids in this area, if you can't accept the people around you, how can you expect a football player to be a right group and band kid? Because let me tell you what, those personalities are often very different. And if you're going to look at your kids and say, you can be in a project together, you don't have to be best friends. You can sit on a bus together, you don't have to be best friends. How can you not accept somebody sitting 2 rows behind you because you don't like where they go to church, or you don't like how they voted? Sitting in this room, in your building, in your grade level, are people that don't like you. The biggest thing you can do for your kids is to be able to accept the personality you're working. And I know it's difficult because we're dealing with people that are not like us.
I have a couple of suggestions for you as you deal with negative people. I know as the school year starts, you're going to encounter people that don't like the new curriculum, they don't like the new virtual, they don't like the class, they don't like nothing, they're just negative. And if you keep talking to the negative people that talk to you, they'll get all over you like white on rice. You don't want that. So I have a couple of suggestions. My first suggestion is don't throw shade back at them. That means being negative back at them. When they're complaining about the new curriculum, you might be tempted to say, well, if you like the old curriculum so much, why don't you borrow it? I found that throwing shade does not work. So here's some things you can do. First, you can distract them with fancy adjectives. Like when they're saying something negative, you just look at them and say, your hands are so dainty. Or maybe you can look at their shoes and say, their shoes are spectacular. Throwing out them fancy adjectives will get them all distracted. Or if that don't work right in the middle of their negativity, you can say something real crazy and offbeat. It's like, I love to eat blue. Or maybe you can say, I wonder what would happen if I punched a tiger at the zoo. Say something crazy like that, I'll get them all distracted. If those two things don't work, you can always throw a horse blinders. That's when you just throw your hand like this, and you just completely ignore whatever you're saying. So if the fancy adjectives don't work, and then distracted, just throw a horse blinders. You just need to get away from the negative people.
Have you ever worked with someone like that? Yeah, point to them. No, just kidding. Let me tell you what, it's miserable. It is miserable working with someone who's miserable at their job. They don't like their kids, they don't like their parents, they don't like their job, they complain all day long, and it is miserable when you are working with someone who's miserable. Or even worse, someone that's happy all the time. Oh my gosh. I'm skipping by your ear. Good morning, sunshine! They just want to slap top in there. Get away from me, I hate you! That's what you're dealing with. People around you, people on your campus, people in your office are not like you. My PE teacher drives me crazy because she's all about health. And obviously, I'm not all about health. But that's not my stress with her. My stress with her is she thinks it's okay to teach scare tactics to elementary school kids. And she tries to scare our kids into being healthy and scare our kids into exercising by telling them all the terrible things are going to happen to them if they don't exercise and they don't eat right. And I know that research supports her because I know research tells us that Oreos can be as addictive as cocaine, but you don't need to teach that to kindergartners. Because you know what happens when you teach that to kindergartners and they bring Oreos to lunch? They act like drug dealers. I got something good and you by the slide. And every year after her thinking about how bad sugar is for us, I got 4 or 5 fifth grade boys trying to sell some kind of sugar item off recess, feeling like they're a big drug game. And that kind of teaching brings me into conversations I don't want with happy parents, because I get phone calls all year round from parents screaming, yelling at me, saying my child refuses to eat ketchup on their French fries because your PE teacher keeps telling them to eat something with so many calories like French fries, they shouldn't have extra calories on the meal by using ketchup. Do you know how stressful it is for me? And I try to get her to change her, I bring her up, I put her on a corrective action plan. I sent her to 5 other schools to see 5 other teachers, the best 5 PE teachers I could find in my district. She came back and nothing was changed. About 4 years ago, we had a meeting table day, big pop-up. I was sitting in there. I sit in there all day long on pop-up day. I was sitting in there at the end of the day. She came in and she walked in and she picked up a cupcake and she kind of giggled to herself. And I said, "What are you laughing at?" She said, "Oh, I remember when I was a cheerleader in 10th grade. I went to a friend's birthday party with all my cheerleader friends, and I picked up a cupcake, and my mom slapped it out of my hand and said I didn't eat it." And I said, "That's why you're crazy." She's a good friend of mine. I said, "That's why you're crazy." She said, "Oh, I know, believe me." She said, "A year later, to the day, at the same girl's birthday party with all of my friends in 11th grade, the pizza got handed carrying 10 heavy pizzas, and I leaned in Roger Hadley to smell the name on my friend's life, and my mom grabbed my pigtail and pulled my head back in front of my friends, and announced that I had overeaten lunch. I was eating pizza. She had brought salad for me that was in the car. And I realized standing here in this room that I had been dealing with this the wrong way, because I took 3 years trying to change her, and what I needed to do was change me. See, sitting in this room are people that are not like you. They don't worship like you, they don't vote like you, they don't eat like you, they don't vacation like you. And you can spend this entire year trying to change the people that you work with, but let me tell you what would be a lot easier. Change you. Change you and the way you deal with someone who doesn't live your lifestyle, who doesn't teach like you, who doesn't vacation where you've been. And here's how easy it is. All you have to do is stop focusing on the differences between you and the people that you work with and start focusing on the things that you have in common. Did you know that everybody in your school building has one thing in common? From the custodian to the secretary to the superintendent, everybody that you work with is giving up 6, 7, 8 hours a day to raise someone else's child. Your custodians, your bus drivers, your secretaries, Everybody that you work with is giving up their own life in order to raise someone else's child. But when you only focus on where they go to church and who they voted for, all you see are the differences between you and them. And guess what that does? It clouds your thought process. Let me tell you how it clouded my thought process. It made me forget why a kindergartner wouldn't eat ketchup with their French fries. Do you know why? Because they love the teacher that told them that. And in elementary school, we have this great thing that if your kids love you, you can tell them anything and they will believe it. You know why? Because they love you. And I had forgotten that. Because I was so wrapped up in this one difference between me and the PE teacher that I couldn't see anything that we have in common. Sitting around you are people that are not like you. They don't vote like you. They don't worship like you. They don't eat like you. They don't watch the same thing on TV. You can spend this entire school year trying to change everybody around you. But let me tell you what would be better if you changed you. In order to be able to accept the people that are sitting around you. And we got to be able to accept people's mistakes. You ask me all the time, what's your favorite video? I don't really have a favorite video, but I have a favorite category. And this video falls in my favorite category. And my favorite category is when I put a video up, and I know that you're laughing hysterically at it as an educator, and when you try to show it to another, they have no idea why the video is funny. So this video falls in the category.
I would like to discuss a phenomenon that happens this time of year. It's called the free table. This is a table that pops up out of nowhere in schools all across the nation. It's when teachers are cleaning their rooms, getting ready for the new school year. They find some stuff they don't want, rather than walk it out to the dumpster and put it where it should go. They put it on a table and put a sign that says free on it. Then other teachers put the stuff on there that they don't want to walk out to the dumpster. This is a problem because these things end up in one of two places. The first is a hoarder's classroom. A hoarder is a teacher that has a closet full of half-empty glue bottles that are all rubberized, and little nubby crayons that they're going to melt down for Valentine's heart crayons, and VHS tapes of Brush the Flying Dog, and little clear coins that we use for transparency overhead. They got everything in the room. They walk by the free table and they think it's Christmas. They clear off the free table and put it in their hoarder's closet. The other place it ends up is in the dumpster, which is where it should have started and ended. But now the principal or the custodian is having to clear the free table the day before school starts. Please resist the urge to put stuff on the free table. Over the dumpster.
Every one schools has a free table every single year. So I walked into our reporters classroom 5 years ago, and I said, you know what, you're an amazing teacher. I truly wish that all three of my kids had had you as a teacher, but we don't talk in this classroom. It is floor to ceiling junk. I said, let me tell you why I'm down here. Are you laughing, Miss Eric, because that's your room? I said, let me tell you why I'm down here. I just met the school nurse to find out how I can support her more this year, and she reminded me that she sent 9 kids to the office to see you last year with head injuries from things falling off your shelf. I said, we have 3 boys that have stitches scars that think they're in a game from things falling off your shelf and hitting you in the head. We got to clean this room. She said, I know. She said, I talked to her today. She said, I've been working all summer. She said, but I need everything in here. She said, I challenge you. Just find something that I need. And I went, how about that? And literally pointed to a big milk crate full of half-empty glue bottles that were so old, all the glue had solidified. It was solid. I flicked one of the labels and just flutter up like a butterfly. I said, this glue is so old that the labels are dry rotted and the glue is solid. We need to throw it away. She said, but wait, if you put 5 drops of turpentine in there and shake it up, it turns into glue again. I said, you know what else turns into glue? A quarter of Walmart. So we're going to Walmart with some quarters. So this video came up from our open house. We have an open house on Monday. We have a district-wide open house on Monday. The week before is our PD week, where we have 5 days of PD to get ready for the school year. I always challenge my staff that I say, here's the challenge I have for you. Come 30 minutes early or stay 30 minutes late and work in your classroom, work in the gym, work in the library, wherever your area is. If you spend an extra 30 minutes getting ready all 5 days this week, by the time we get to Friday, everybody will be ready. And my goal as the administrator is to shut the building down on Friday and allow you to have a weekend with yourself and your family. Because this is the last weekend of the summer. I don't want you over here frantic trying to get ready. So if we all work extra hard, we can come back to school on Monday and we can keep the school year off after spending time with our family on the weekend. So I walked in the building on Friday, everybody had worked extra hard, everything was ready, went home and spent with my family on Saturday just like I told them to do. I forgot my laptop at school, so after church on Sunday, I ran in to grab my laptop, and there was a free table with stuff back on all over the ceiling. Right before open house. Well, I could have texted everybody and said, whoever did this, get here to clean up. I'm not going to do it for you. Or I could have done what you love. I could have mass emailed everybody, even though it only pertained to one person. Don't you love those emails from your administration? But I learned my first year as a principal, however I react to the mistakes of the people in my building is exactly the way they're going to react when I make a mistake. Let me say it again because it's important for you to hear. However you react to the people that you work with when they make a mistake is exactly the way they're going to react when you make a mistake. And guess what you're going to be making this year? Mistakes. And do you know what I want when I make a mistake? Grace and understanding. In order to get grace and understanding, I've got to give grace and understanding. And if I call that teacher out, embarrass her staff meeting, send out a big email, 3 weeks later, when I forgot to tell everybody that I wanted an afternoon assembly, and I instructed the entire school's instruction day with no warning, she would have called me out. Well, maybe not on that day, because that's the day we had the firemen in. And elementary school teachers love doing firemen come to school. They're in stiletto heels, pushing up in their bras. It's like this for a fire and stuff. Let me tell you what I learned a long time ago. However I react to mistakes that people in my building is exactly the way they're going to react when I make a mistake, and I make mistakes all the time. And do you know what I want? Grace and understanding. So do you know what I give? Grace and understanding. And let me tell you who else makes mistakes. Your parents. They have no idea what time basketball or softball practice is, and they're playing every single day. There you are waiting for their child, their parent to pick them up. What do you mean you got to return books to the library? When did you make that a policy? Since Abraham Lincoln. That's how long we've been doing that. If you or someone in this room responds incorrectly to a parent's mistake, let me tell you what that parent's doing. They're poring over your newsletters and your web pages, waiting for someone to misspell a word so they can take a screenshot of it and put it on social media. You know why? Because someone in this room jumped all over them when they made a mistake, and they had that in their back pocket for 3 weeks, waiting to repay somebody in the district. However you respond to the mistakes of your colleagues, of your parents, of your students, is exactly the way they're going to respond when you make a mistake. So always respond with grace and with understanding. And we've got to get on the same page. It's hugely important that you're on the same page with people that you work with your grade level, with the coaches, with the front office, with the people that are running your schools. You've got to be able to get on the same page with the people in your building. This topic on this video is the most important topic for you to be on the same page about in your school building, because if your school building can't get on the same page with this topic, you're going to have a miserable school year.
I'd like to talk about something very important in all schools across the nation and probably the world, and that is staff bathroom etiquette. Some of us need a lesson. First, number one, is there is a lock on the door for a reason. Make sure you click the bathroom lock. If you don't hear click, it's not locked. And it is very traumatizing to walk in on a staff member in the bathroom. Next, when the toilet paper is gone, call the custodian. Don't just leave and not tell anyone, because the next person who comes in doesn't realize there's toilet paper, and it causes some stress. Call the custodian. Next, if you share a bathroom, males and females, and you have fluffied up that bathroom with legs and flowers and generic lumber baskets, put something manly in there so you will feel welcome, like a bobblehead or a superhero poster. You want to feel welcome too. If you happen to have bathrooms, one's for men's and one's for women's, don't yell at the men when there is a line in the women's bathroom. That is not our fault. And stop trying to sneak into the men's bathroom. If we snuck into the ladies' bathroom, you would say gross. So stop sneaking into the men's bathroom. Gross. Most important, air freshener. Don't make the air freshener. So stop spraying 42 seconds worth of air freshener. It's just making it worse. And as it pertains to that rule, if you have Taco Tuesday at your house, Wednesday might be a good day for you to get a doctor's appointment, so it would be awesome. That's everything.
So that video came up from me walking in on a substitute teacher with your skirt hiked up, sitting on the toilet in the staff bathroom, so she forgot to walk back to door. When she came out, I said, I'm sorry, you've got to move my time. You've got to go to a new school now. I'm traumatized by this event. But she wishes that is, she's not getting on the same page, and you know more than anybody. when your grade level can't get along, when your coaches can't get along, when your departments are arguing, it is a miserable school year. And you've got to learn to get along with everybody in your building and be able to be on the same page with the people that you work with. And it's a lot easier than you think. So let me say, we've got probably 400 people in the room here. We've got preschool teachers, we've got 12th grade teachers, we've got first-year educators, we've got 42-year educators in the room here. Let me show you how easy it is to get 400 educators on the same page. So do this activity with me. So pick a number between 1 and 10 in your head. Multiply by 9. I know kindergarten's like, whoa, we don't do that college stuff. We're do that. So multiply that number by 9. Now you're going to separate the digits and add them together. If your answer was 15, you'd add a 1 and a 5. So separate the digits in your answer and then add those digits back together again. Subtract 5. Now you're going to turn your number into a letter. If you have a 1, it's an A, 2 is a B, 3 is a C, 4 is a D. So now you've got a letter of the alphabet. It gets a little bit harder. I'll let you think for a second. Pick a country that starts with your letter. And pick an animal that begins with the second letter of your country. We think it's hard to get on the same page, so we got 400 people in the room here. Raise your hand if you've got Denmark and elephants. There you go. It always happens that way. Always. Here's what the thing is. No matter how many people I'm working with, whether I'm with 20 people at one school or I'm in Katy, Texas with 5,000 people on a football stadium in an game, the percentages are always the same. 90% of you got Denmark and elephant. 2% of you got Denmark and another animal, eagle, emu. 2% of you had a hard time with math, like, oh, those little animals, what's going on here? 2% of you are exactly like the kids, whatever, I'm not doing this, it's my day off, I'm just going to sit here. And usually in the room this size, there's at least one person that got what I got, which is the ADHD answer, which is Djibouti Jaguar. There you go, guess what? It always comes out that way. You're always going to have the same answer. You know why? Because you're always going to land on number 4. There are only so many countries that begin with letter D, and an elephant is the first animal that you all have to think about. This is great to play with your older kids. You got a business class, you got a cheerleading squad, you got a band or a softball team. You know why? Because you can tell those girls, we got to get on the same page as a team. We got to get the same page as a squad. If you can Google Denmark Elephant Game and play that with your kids. But here's the deal. I don't want to just give you a cutesy activity and not tell you what the key is. So let me tell you what the key is to being on the same page with the people that you're sitting with your grade level, with your department, with your front office. So I'm at the neighborhood school. I have 750 kids at my elementary school. We're the largest school in Lexington. We've been designated to be a neighborhood school by our district. That means that everybody except for the liars live within a 4-mile radius of my school. We got a lot of liars trying to sneak into my building. So 750 kids, everybody with the liars live within a 4-mile radius of my school. And because of that, we have 19 buses that service my school. My bus rider line is crazy long for an elementary school. And 5 years ago, we had a knockdown drag out between 2 8-year-old bus drivers that included slapping each other in the face, spitting on each other, cussing at each other, and all the 5th graders standing in a circle going, go, 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 go. And they got into this big, huge fight because they both wanted to be first in the bus rider line. So we get out of school at 2:45, they started floating at 2:15, and then they started floating at 2 o'clock, and then they started floating at 1:45, because they both wanted to be the first one in the bus rider line. And it culminated in this big, huge fight that the kids still talk about 5 years later, when one of the bus drivers started pulling his buses at 9 a.m. after his morning round and having a friend pick him up, so that no matter what time the other bus pulled in, his bus was parked there all day long. And they literally got into a huge fight for all the kids. And when I went out and said, what in the world is going on between 2 and 80-year-old bus drivers that you got to fight in front of these kids? One of the bus drivers said, if I'm not first in line, then I'm 10 minutes late every afternoon to pick up my wife from her dialysis appointment. Do you know how easy that would have been solved? Communication. See, that's the key. The key to you being on the same page with your principal, with your superintendent, with your grade level, with the department, with the custodians, with a school library, is simply communication. Now, what we have decided, especially in the United States, is being on the same page means I get my way and I like the decisions that are being made. Let me remind you something. Being on the same page doesn't mean you're going to get your way. It doesn't even mean you like the decisions that are being made. You know why? Because sitting in this room and in your buildings, you're going to be in a meeting this year and you're not going to get your way. You're not going to get to hire a teacher that thought it was best in the interview. You're not going to get the prom thing that you thought would be best. You're not going to get called to play that you think is going to win the game. You're not going to get to place the kid where you think they need to be placed. You know why? because you were sitting in a room and you were working in a building with people with different years of experience, different experiences, and different thought processes. But it doesn't mean you're not on the same page. Because when you as a grade level, as a department, as a school, as a nation, as a district, can sit down, can listen to each other, can hear your colleagues, can be heard by your colleagues, you are always on the same page, even when you disagree. Do you know why? Because being on the same page doesn't mean you get your way. It doesn't even mean you like the decisions that are being made. Being on the same page simply means you understand the decisions that are being made because you have talked as a community, and you've got to be on the same page with the people around you. And we've got to understand the importance of climate culture. Who's in charge of climate culture where you work? It's you. It's not the principal, it's not the social committee, it's not the school counselor, it's you. And if you're working in a negative situation, somebody's not getting along your grade level, your coach is getting along, you can change that. And if you love your situation, you love your parent, you don't want to lose your principal, you've got the best softball coach ever, you don't want to lose them, you can add to the climate culture of where you work. Climate culture is up to you. And if you're waiting for someone to change it, you could be waiting forever. You have to step up and do things different in your building.
As we get close to Halloween, I have something you can do that will bless your colleagues at school or at work. Go out and get yourself for a prize pumpkin from Walmart's. They're only $1 and not filled with tasty treats. And the teachers can reach in and pull out a tasty treat. Be like, what is that? Oh, I got a payday. I got all these fun things in here. Here's a chicken leg. I got some meals in here. Those are delicious. This is great. Thank you, treat. Get them to go. So that's fine. Here's almond joy. That's always delicious. I got me a Speedway hot dog, and I got regulated. Milk, they're really Western. Jack and Friends, first Big Cats. This is my favorite. This is some old bed. I take some rubber with it. Well, from there, teachers will be able to make everyday try to what was that. Just want to get yourself purple price pumpkins at Walmart. Still working for last year and all those seasons.
People ask me all the time, what's like wearing my school hat? Because that's climate culture. What you do for the people sitting around you is climate culture. What you do for your secretaries on Secretary's Day, what you do when your coaches are in a big game, what you do for your colleagues when it's their birthday or when they're having a grandbaby, that's climate culture. And you who's in charge of that? You are. We do purple prize pumpkin in our school. Everybody knows in October, on any given day, a fifth grader is going to knock on your door and say, it's purple prize pumpkin day. Guess about pumpkin? It's candy, it's not chicken legs. Wouldn't you pray for chicken legs? How great would that be? We do it every season. Stocking is right around Christmas time. Easter basket full of candy Easter. Right before spring break, when you're all sick of each other, ready for a break. A fifth grader walks from the building with a big bucket full of beach bucket full of candy, says you're almost there, take a piece of candy. We give out ice cream sandwiches on the recess field on the first day of spring to all the teachers to celebrate the first day of spring. They're disgusting, no one likes them, but they got them, and the kids don't have them. That's all it takes to make a good day for a teacher. Who's in charge of that? You are. And if you're waiting for someone to step up and change the climate culture where you work, you're waiting for your principal to change some things, you're waiting for your PTA to do something great, you could be waiting forever. You are in charge of the climate culture where you work, and if you're waiting for someone to change it, you could be waiting forever. So let me give you a couple ideas. The first thing I would suggest, I email everybody at the beginning of the school year. I would encourage you to email your work family, your grade level, your department, the front office, your coaches, whatever your work family is. I email everybody and I say, email me back. Let me know what your favorite sweet food is, what your favorite salty food is, and what your favorite drink that you're allowed to drink in school is. You got a preference for that, everybody just says white coffee and Oreo. We all know that. So guess what? If your colleagues email you back, my staff emails me back their favorite sweet food, their favorite salty food, and their favorite drink that they're allowed to drink in school. I put that in a Word document, I arrange it alphabetically, and I put it up on my desktop as an icon on my computer. And do you know what I'm sitting on? Climate culture. You know why? Because I now know what's going to make anybody stay in the room a little bit better. Let me tell you how it works. When Mrs. Smith has a really nasty phone call complaining from some crazy parent screaming and yelling at her, and she's walking back into her room crying, trying to get herself together before her kids come back from PE, and I find out about it, an hour later she's got a sweet tea from McDonald's and pretzels on her desk, because all I had to do was look on my computer to see what's going to make her day a little better. Let me tell you how it works for you. when you find out what your coach is like, what your secretary likes, what your grade level likes, and you walk across the hallway and say, hey, I heard that kid yesterday slammed the door. I'm really sorry you're having a bad day. I know this doesn't make up for it, but here's a zebra cake. You know what your colleague says? You as my colleague understood that I was having a bad day. You as my colleague would like to have a better day, and you as my colleague know me well enough to know that the zebra cake's my favorite, and you have it in your desk when I needed it. Do you know how simple that is? It just requires you being organized. And I'm very blessed to be able to do this in my life right now whenever I want to. I know it can get expensive, but you can do it too. Do when you think you have money. On payday. Don't you think you have money on payday? Wow, look how much money we have in the bank. Woohoo! Then 3 days later, you're eating macaroni and cheese with milk like you were in college again. That's a teacher recipe, by the way. If you stop at 7-Eleven or Shell or Walmart or whatever you pass on the way to work and bought one of the people in your building their favorite candy bar or their favorite soda, you'd be blessing 10 or 20 people a year for $50 for you to paycheck, and you wouldn't even miss it. You know why? Because the other day you had all that money. And it doesn't even have to be you. If I gave you a post-it note and said, hey, write down the name of 5 parents who do anything for you, everybody in here, even a first-year teacher, knows at least 5 parents who do anything for you. You know why? Because you've done something amazing for those kids. And if you email those 5 parents and said, hey, I know you're moving on. I know your kid's not even in my building anymore. But is there any way you can find a way to get these 5 candy bars so I can have these in my desk? Because these are candy bars that my colleagues love. In 2 weeks, you've got 25 candy bars in your desk. It didn't cost you none. You know what you just did? You just blessed the parent. Because you allowed the parent to bless you for less than $5. And I don't know much about this area right here. I was driving, trying to find a place to eat last night. Guess what I found? 42 churches. That's the way it is here in the United States. There are churches at every other corner. And if you walk in that church, and you talk to that secretary, you talk to that minister, you talk to anybody walking in that building, and you said, hey, I'm a teacher at the school 5 miles down the road. Here's a list of 50 candy bars that my teachers love. Is there anybody in this church building that would be willing to buy these? In 2 weeks, you got 50 candy bars and it didn't cost you none. You know why? Because every single church in your community has a little old lady Sunday school class that's waiting to bless you. You're just not asked it yet. You can change the climate culture. You've got to be the one to step up and do it. Let me give you another idea. I buy 5 composition notes at the beginning of the school year. They're 50 cents at Walmart. And I type up on a Word document, this is a compliment notebook. Read what the person wrote on the last page of writing about you. Then turn the page and write something nice about one of your colleagues and stick it in your box. And I run that off 5 times, and I take that to the front of the composition notebooks. And then I write 5 different teachers. Dear Miss Smith, great job with those softball players. I'm so proud that you're getting ready to go to the district playoffs. You were a great coach. I'm amazed at your dedication. Thank you for everything you do for me, the coach. You're a blessing to me. You're a blessing to our school. But most importantly, you're a blessing to your kids. And I put your coach in this box. She gets it out. She reads the front cover. This is the compliment notebook. Read what the person wrote on the last page of writing about you. Then turn the page and write something nice about one of your colleagues and stick it in your box. And she opens it up and she reads what I wrote on her. And then she turns the page and she writes something nice about Senior Aparicio. And she sticks it in Senior Aparicio's box. And now, for $3 and 20 minutes of my time, I have 5 compliment notebooks moving throughout my mailbox system. And guess what I found? Nobody just reads the last page because y'all are nosy. You read all 27 pages. And I love that. You know why? Because you're now reading 27 things about the people sitting around you that you didn't know before. And guess what it costs? Less than $3 and 20 minutes of my time. It's called with our grade levels. We now have one for every grade level. We have one for the special area. We have one for the special ed team. And it says the same thing. This is the special ed compliment notebook. Read what one of the special ed teachers said about you. Then write something nice about one of your special ed colleagues and stick it on our desk. I have 7 special ed teachers in my building. I have 9 special ed parents. And those 16 teachers move that compliment notebook among them. I do this with my district. I've got 56 principals in my district. And I do this with the principals. And I just say the same thing. This is an administrative compliment notebook. Read what one of your administrative principal colleagues said about you. Then turn the page and write something nice about one of your colleagues and stick it in the Courier. And I do that the first day of school. And now we have 5 compliment notebooks moving among 56 principals in our building. But the type of culture is up to you. And if you're waiting for someone to change it, you can be waiting forever. Let me give you one last idea. So my first 3 weeks in Bourbon County as a principal, as being a new principal, I was noticing that entire grade levels were going into the counselor every day and talking to the counselor. And I let it go for about 3 weeks, but every single day, 3 or 4 different grade levels would go and see the counselor, and I let it go. And I talked about error on that. Because I know that the counselor is somebody you can go to. If you're having a bad day, that's a great person you can talk to. So I finally, after my previous week with the counselor, I said, you don't have to tell me anything confidential, but I noticed that they're coming in to talk to you every day, and if they're coming in to complain about me as the new principal, and you've got some ideas that I can change to make this place better, I would love for you to give me a heads up. She said, oh no. She said, I got chocolate on my desk. I said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. The next day, she brought me a fishbowl full of chocolate, and I had it on my desk for 14 years. Do you know why? Because it gives me 10 seconds. And I only need 10 seconds to build relationships with the people in my building. I already know you've got a paraprofessional in the room that's been in her building for 15 years, and she's getting her education degree now to be a teacher. You know why? I had 10 seconds to take a picture with her. Do you know what you need to build relationships with people in your building? 10 seconds. You don't got to go to vacation with people. You don't got to go to dinner with them. All you need to build relationships with the people around you are 10 seconds. And that chocolate that's on my desk that never even goes half empty brings people to me every single day. And do you know what I get? 10 seconds. And when you're getting, waiting for the copies to come out of the copier, and you pop in my office and you grab one of those little Hershey cups, I say, hey, how'd your daughter do in soccer last night? Oh, they didn't win, but she scored a goal. Thank you for asking. And when you're getting something out of your box, you pop it and grab one of those little Hershey Dark bars. By the way, I can say, hey, how's Susie doing? I saw you talking in the hallway with her this morning. Oh, she had a rough morning, but she's pulled together. Thank you for checking on me. Thank you for checking on her. And that chocolate that's on my desk that never even goes half empty brings people to me every single day. Do you know why? Because I've invited them into my office by putting chocolate on there and telling everybody in the building, come and see me whenever you want to. And I challenge you to do that. I used to just challenge people with offices, assistant principals, counselors, principals, coaches, but now I say everybody, even classroom teachers, whatever your job is, grab yourself a fish bowl, grab yourself a big chocolate bowl, fill it with your chocolate, fill it with your gummy bears, fill it with your fireballs. Not that kind of fireball, but that'd be great. Fill it with whatever you love. Email your staff, say, hey, I've got a big old jar of candy on my desk, I've got a big old jar of chocolate on my desk. Let me ask you this. What's the first thing you do when you're stressed? Eat. That was what everybody was going to say. And when you send an email out saying, if anybody needs chocolate, come and see me, when that teacher gets screamed and yelled at in the office by some crazy parent, and she's walking back to her room ready to burst into tears, trying to hold herself together, do you know whose room she's going to stop in? Your room. Because you've offered her gummy bears, or you've offered her Starburst, or you've offered her chocolate. They bring people into your room every single day. And I'm going to say, oh, you can't do that with kids. It'll be so distracting to have that candy on your desk. It's great with your kids. Let me tell you how you figured to do this with your kids. You say to your kids, this candy is on my desk for me and for all my colleagues, and it's also for you. But not this year. It's only for you when I'm not your teacher anymore, because I want to keep seeing you. Next semester when you've moved on, next quarter when you're not in my classroom, next year when you've moved on to 5th grade, you are welcome to come into my room any day, grab one of these, but they're not for you right now. And you're going to see kids all year round popping in here, and you're not going to recognize here. You know who those are? Those are my past students coming in to get these. You know what that does? It brings your kids back to you. We've been doing this for about 9 years now. You know what happens when a high school senior comes to pick up their siblings from our school? Nobody goes to the car right line. They park the car and they go trick or treat from classroom to classroom to classroom. You know why? Because 7 years ago, the 3rd grade teacher said, these Starbursts are all like, yes, for you, and I want to see you. Come back and see me. And now we have 11th grade kids going to see the 3rd grade teachers. You know what that does? It brings those kids back into you. I had a teacher that came up to me at a conference a couple of months ago. She said, I know you only have an elementary experience, so let me tell you something that's important with middle school and high school. She said, one of the most important things that I can do as a middle school or high school teacher is to keep tabs on my kids all day long. Because what happens during middle school and high school is complete drama, and the kid that I had first period is not the same kid by the time we get to 6th period. She said, if you want to see your kid throughout the day, if you're a middle school or you're a high school teacher, she said, put lotion on your desk. She said, if you put lotion on your desk, and you put lotion by your door, and you tell those kids this lotion is for you all day long, you have kids running in your room, grabbing 2 or 3 pumps of lotion to move on. And she said, that little girl that I had 2nd period in algebra has been crying on 1st period because her boyfriend said some rude dirt in front of all her friends. And she comes in 5th period to get lotion. She's not really coming in to get lotion. She's coming in so I can see her. And guess what I get? 5 seconds. And I get to read her body language. If you're a middle school or high school teacher, find your way to get your kids to come and see you throughout your day, because the kids you have 1st and 2nd period is not the same kid 5th and 6th period, because they go through so much trauma throughout the day. You can change kind of culture in your building. And if you're waiting for your social community, your principal to change something, you could be waiting forever. And you have to be a participant, not a bystander.
Today was the 100th day of school, and as is tradition, I wore 100th day of school clothes in. I've got a sweatshirt that a friend of mine made. It's got 100 bugs all over it. It says down here, the bug great. I wore that all day today. I love True and Kurt Gardner's. One of Kurt Gardner said to me, "What is it the bugs are responsible?" And I said, "Can you stick that straw in that Capri Sun bag without it squirting all over you?" He said, "No." I said, "That bugs me." He said, "You know, in the morning, when the car ride line ain't moving fast enough, your heart will beat the whole board like this when they get my moving." He said, "Yeah." I said, "That bugs me." I said, "I got 5 yellow beans, 3 are in this hand, how many are in this one?" He said, "I don't know." I said, "That bugs me." I can do this too.
Let me tell you what kills climate culture in your building. When everybody is dressed in pink for Residents Awareness Day, except for you. When everybody in your building is being a participant and you're being a bystander, it causes climate culture problems. And when everybody is dressed up for the softball game, when everybody is here for the basketball game, when everybody's doing the dance for the pep rally, when everybody's doing Green Cross America and you decide not to, it causes climate culture problems. And when you decide to be a bystander, when everybody else in your building is being a participant, it causes climate culture problems. And let me tell you who sees that. Your colleagues, your parents, and your kids. And your kids are bold enough to walk right up to you and say, "Why is everybody in an autism awareness shirt except for you?" And you've got to explain to your kids why you decided to be a bystander when everybody else in your building is being a participant. And I have this. No matter how fun I try to make things. And I try to make everything fun because I want you to participate. I want you to have a good time, and I want you to be a participant. One of my favorite days of the school year here is Alphabet Day. I challenge you to do this, even in high school and middle school. You won't do it, but elementary for sure. On Alphabet Day, our kindergarten classes get together, and they random assign everybody in the building to letter on the alphabet. Bus drivers, secretary, me, the teachers, everybody gets a letter on the alphabet. You've got 5 days to come up with a great costume, and on Friday, you come dressed as your letter of the alphabet. We have a big, huge parade in the gym. The kids all scream and yell when the teachers come in their costumes. The PTA gives out free tickets to every kid. The kids give their free tickets to their favorite costumes. At the end of the day, the staff counts up their tickets, and the PTA gives them $50 gift card for the top 5 winners. Literally one of my favorite days. Because my teachers are uber competitive, and it looks like Sesame Street on Broadway. It's absolutely crazy. But you know what I always have? Bystander. Someone who's mad at me, or they're mad at their grade level, or they're just too busy, or I've been here 25 years, let the younger kids do that. I always have a bystander. It used to really bother me. It used to burn me up. But now I know how to fix it. I just go to the room and say, "Hey, I noticed you didn't dress up like a letter today. Here, I cut out the letter B. You can be a B today." Just a random letter so they can participate. You know why? Because I know what the best is climate culture when everybody's dressed up for the football game except for you. When everybody's doing an activity except for you, it causes climate culture problems when you decide to be a bystander and everybody else is being a participant. And let me remind you something about this. I never allow finances to be a reason someone doesn't participate. Did you know that there are people in your building that are living paycheck to paycheck? Did you know half this room is living paycheck to paycheck? And guess what? There's somebody in your building that can't afford a new $10 Residents Awareness shirt. So when you do a new school shirt, when you do a school spirit shirt, when you do an autism awareness shirt, you just simply say to everybody, "Hey, the shirts are $10, but we're asking everybody to have if you have $2 extra to pay $12, and we're going to use that extra $2, and we're going to buy 10 shirts, and we're going to give them to the counselor. If you need a shirt and you can't afford it, the counselor will keep that to herself. We want you to be a participant, but we would never want to be a financial burden on you." Because somebody in your building can't afford that. Or go to your PTA, or go to a parent and say, "Hey, we've got new school shirts. Can you buy one so that we can give it to the counselor in case we have somebody who can't afford that?" Because there's somebody in your room, in your building, that $10 will be a burden on them. Never allow finance to be a reason someone doesn't participate. And let me tell you something else about this. You're all what I would consider a small district, especially when I come to 56,000 kids. In your areas, your reputation in your community is built when you attend something a parent is not expecting you to be at. When you attend something that a parent is not expecting you to be at, that's when your reputation in your community is built. Because you know who's supposed to be at the 5th grade science fair? 5th grade teachers. You know who's not expecting to be here? Kindergarten teachers. Secretaries. Who do you think they talk about at church? They don't go to church the next day and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad fifth grade teachers came to the fifth grade science fair with all the kids they've been working with all year. They say, I can't believe the kindergarten teachers came to the science fair. I can't believe the bus drivers came to the science fair. And when you, as an elementary or middle school teacher, go to a football game, do you just catching that football? One of your kids from 7 years ago. Do you just keep the crown on her head at homecoming? That little bossy girl that used to boss you around the kindergarten. Now she's the homecoming queen. And when you, as a teacher, go to something that you're not expected to be at, when you, as the football coach, go to the school play, you're the one they talk about. You know why? Because they're not expecting the football coach to be in school play. When you, as the drama teacher, show up at the volleyball game, they're not expecting you to be there. But guess who's on the volleyball team? Your kids. Even if you don't act with them, they are still your kids. And when you show up to something that a parent is not expecting you to be at, that's when your reputation is built, especially in a small community. So make sure you are going to things not only that you are involved with your career kids directly, that your community is involved in. You got to be a participant and not a bystander. And we got to play fun activities. You know what fun activities become? They become traditions. Let me tell you what my favorite things that I have with adult kids are. And I don't like any of my adult kids. All three of my adult kids get on my nerves. I'm sick of all of them. They move wherever they want to move. They marry whoever they want to move. I'm sick of all three of my adult children. But let me tell you my favorite thing about having adult children that I didn't realize was going to happen. All three of my adult children have brought another family member into my life. My son got married 3 years ago. My daughter got married on December 16th. My youngest son has been dating his boyfriend for 7 years. And all three of my family members have brought another family member into my family. And guess what I get to share with them? My traditions. And we have things we've been doing in my family for years. When my kids were younger, we had a flood in my basement, and it destroyed all of our Christmas ornaments and all of my Christmas decorations. I couldn't afford to replace them. So that year I took $10 and I bought some felt off the clearance rack at Michael's, and I made everybody in my family a felt stocking. Guess what I got to make my son-in-law this year? A felt stocking. So that he would have a stocking that matched ours. We do scavenger hunts for birthdays. We've been doing scavenger hunts for 25 years. Guess what I'm planning for my daughter-in-law? A scavenger hunt for her birthday. And she's super excited. You know why? Because that's not her family tradition. And when you do something with your grade level, when you do something with your coaches, with your front office, you have activities people want to be a part of, and people have traditions, and it builds climate culture. So build fun activities in your building.
I'm super excited to introduce my new game that I've invented. It's a breakout game, like in breakout rooms where you're stuck in a room for an hour, you got to figure some things out with some clues. Mine is called Help, Purple and Kidnapped. It's going to be the best acting we've ever been to, I promise. So let's just buy my game and pull it out of the stamping, and then you play it. It's not too long what it is. This first one says, begin your adventure. That would be fun. So it tells you what to do. And basically, the directions are to lock your personal in a closet or a dark room. And then you got 1 hour with your teammates to be able to take the clues and free the parcel from the kidnapper. So you lock the parcel up, and then you get out the clues from the clues envelope. And really, it's just some allergies and coupons and $100 bill. And you and your teammates, you go to the Applebee's and get some appetizers and then you come back to school after about 58 minutes and you start shaking on the door saying, hurry, we got one more clue, hurry. And you swing the door open for 59 minutes and screaming out and look at each other saying, yeah, we freed the parts from the kidnappers. And then once the police, you've been doing all this stuff and you really just been Applebee's. And after you break down, best time you culture money you've ever spent. Find it on Amazon.
I can't tell you how many people message me and say, we can't find it on Amazon, where's that at? That's sad.
It's a Secret Santa time. I'm very excited because I love having a Secret Santa pal to be able to give gifts to. And I know my Secret Santa pal real well, so I've got some gifts for her that she's going to really appreciate. It'll make it a lot easier, maybe use the same kind of suggestions. My Secret Santa pal is always complaining that she didn't have time to go to the bathroom and work. So I got her some DPs. She's constantly in trouble for being late to work. So I brought her a jar of dry shampoo so she can just like shampoo her hair on the way to work. And when she won't be late to work, she's going to love that too. And then she's complaining a lot about not being able to have time to be able to eat lunch. So I made her a little necklace. It's a nipple necklace. I'm going to take her on you just got out some bologna, chocolate
So we do Secret Santa in my school, we've been doing it about 80 years. When I stepped into Bergen County, I stepped into the 11th tradition of the Organ Exchange. And they were doing an Organ Exchange every year. The last day before Christmas is a half day. Everybody brings in a potluck item. Everybody brings in a wrapped Christmas ornament. You put a number on it, and you draw a number, and whatever number you draw, you take an ornament home from one of your colleagues. And they've been doing it for 11 years. 2 years into being the principal there, I hired a new assistant principal. He was very young, he was very forgetful. So I called him the night before, and I said, they've been doing this tradition for 13 years, and it's a big deal in the school for climate culture. Make sure you bring an ornament, because I know you're going to forget one. He said, okay, I'll bring it. So the next day we were in the ornament exchange, whoever got his ornament opened it up, and it was an ornament from his tree, and it had his wedding date engraved on the back of the ornament. So I called his wife and I said, I want to let you know he didn't listen to me, just snatched it off your tree. He didn't know it had your wedding date. She said, well, you know what, I don't even like that hand that gave it to us. You just tell him to keep it, I don't want to take it back. I left that school 11 years ago, and every year I get a picture of who gets it, because they put it back in as a white elephant. And nobody wants it, you got to be charging it all year round. The next year I called them the month before, and I said, tomorrow's organ exchange. She said, I know. He said, I'm extra organized. He said, I bought something on Black Friday here in the Thanksgiving sales. I'm all ready for it. I said, great. The next day when he came in, I said, bring me your organ. I want to see what you got. I didn't want to see what he got. I wanted to see how he wrapped it. He showed it to me. I didn't know what it was. And then he went in there and put it on the library table, which is where we do the organ exchange. And when no one was in there at lunchtime, I went in there and got his package, and I took it to Family Resource, and I took out the Christmas ornament, and I replaced it with a big bra, and rewrapped it. No news, by the way, but it was hilarious. So we're at the gift exchange. I can relax the desk there. It's number 15. I'm like, come on, get you number 15. Finally, the lady's in charge. This is number 15. She says, okay, we're at number 15. You brought this in. He says, I did. And I'll say, it's going to be from your tree. I'm like, it ain't going to be from your tree. And she says, okay, you get your number 15. And my 73-year-old reading recovery teacher. And I went, oh, wow, I had not heard this through. She's got a water going, it's going to be from your tree. I'm like, it's not going to be from this tree. I can't decide if I want to kick the walker out from under and run or let it play out. So I just let it play out. She opens it up. She holds up this big, huge hockey rod. Everybody turns and looks at him, and he turns and looks at me. And I'm thinking, here comes Human Resources. I'm getting ready to get fired right now. She puts it on one, puts it on the other. Look what I think out. The next day, we got a picture of her graduating from Angel like it was a shawl. And every year, for the past 10 years, we get a picture of how she hangs it up, because she acts like it's a Christmas decoration. Last year was the main the baby Jesus was sleeping in one of the bra tubs. Nobody misses the organ exchange at Cape Ridge. And when you plan something with your coaches, when you go out to dinner before a big game, when you do something great with your grade level, when your department, when your school, when your building does something special that other people don't have, you have a tradition people want to be a part of, and it builds climate culture. So plan fun activities where you're at. That's what builds climate culture, and people want to be a part of those traditions. So 3 years ago, when we went into a nationwide lockdown because of COVID, all of my conferences got canceled, and everybody went to virtual conference. And I don't like to use my videos on a virtual conference because I realized after my very first virtual conference that Zoom does not always work correctly. And so I don't like to be with 400 people and all of a sudden have my Zoom not work. So I realized when COVID was around that I wanted to do something different. And I want to close my time with you guys doing something a little bit different. When I'm on the virtual, I do object lessons. I was a youth minister for 9 years in Florida, and the best way to find that I found to teach a kid is with an object lesson. Because if you can find an object that your kids see on a regular basis, and you can relate it to something important you want them to remember, like you want to talk about sharing and how important that is, and you bring in a can of soup, and you relate sharing to that can of soup, when your kids see a can of soup 6 weeks down the road, they'll bring your lesson up with their parents because you related an object with that important lesson. So I realized, well, if that's a good way to teach kids, it's got to be a good way to teach adults. So about 8 years ago, I started using object lessons with my staff, and I want to close out my time with you guys today with the most important object lessons that I share with my staff. I do this every single year. I buy these objects, I purchase them, I say put these on your desk because I want you to remember this behind this object. And so I have the same goal that I would show you 2 or 3 things that you might want to purchase and put on your desk, and 2 or 3 things that you can talk about with your colleague. So the first thing everybody gets that I want to share with you is just Life Village. Everybody in my building gets a Life Village. It's 2 pieces. It's switch and a plate. Everybody gets these. I saw this lesson in the 3rd grade teacher's classroom. She's an amazing teacher. Best teacher I've ever seen. And she used these to teach her students the importance of moving on from one thing to another. You know, to be successful in your job and in your professional and personal life, you've got to move throughout your day. You can't get wrapped up in a nasty email and answer that email all day long. As a coach, you can't love teaching one skill and not move on to the other 9 skills your athletes need to be successful in their sport. You can't love your chapter book and not do your math lesson because you want to keep reading. You know, professionally and personally, you've got to move throughout your day. Well, this teacher this year had a special ed collaboration group. She had 7 kids on the autism spectrum. And she knew, just like you know, that kids on the autism spectrum have a really hard time moving off of something if they are enjoying it. And if you've got kids on the autism spectrum, that's one way you can know, because they throw a fit if you stop something they are enjoying. So she knew that was going to be a problem. So she bought all the kids these. She bought a big 3-foot one that she mounted on the wall by her smartboard. She gave these to the kids. They took them to the art room. They collaborated with the art teacher. They decorated. They put their names on them. And she used these as a visual reminder for her students to move on from one thing to another. When I was observing her one day, they were all coming in from recess. They were all really excited because they had won a big kickball game. And she said, "Oh, boys and girls, we've got to move on." She said, "Can everybody get off their light switches?" She said, "Can everybody turn off your recess blinds?" And they all flicked their light switches. She flicked one on the board. She said, "Guess what? We're 3 days into fractions. And this is the concept you have to know as a 4th grader. Your 4th grade teacher's going to come by you if you don't know fractions. So we all have to do math conditions. Can you all turn up your math blinds?" And they all turned up their math blinds. And she flicked one on the board. And they put it at their desks. And they were ready to move on. She gave them a visual cue. It's time to stop this and move on. You already do this. You said, "Clap your tongues so you can hear me." Flick your lights in the cafeteria. You said, clean up everywhere. Your middle school, high school, try that. It gets on the kids' nerves, but it gets their attention. You already have some kind of cue to get your kids' attention. You know how important it is to get your kids to stop one thing and move on to another. But the reason I give these to my staff, the reason I want you to put these on your desk, is because I know 80% of you are unable to do this on a daily basis with your own professional minds. And you're unable to turn off your professional mind, and you're taking your jobs home with you every day. You know why? Because you are in literally the most important job in the world. And every day, you're taking your jobs home with you. And what I want you to be able to do every day is to be able to turn it off. You know why? Because you are in a stressful job. Every single day, you are walking out of your building mentally and physically stressed, but you're not turning this off, and you're taking your jobs home with you. And guess what's at home for you? Husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, pets, kids, you. And some of you this summer crammed every book you could possibly read because during the school year, you're too busy to even read one chapter out of a book. And let me remind you what you need to do. Turn off your professional mind every single day. Do you know why? Because you are in a mentally and physically stressful job. I give these to my teachers. I tell them, if you need me, call me. If you need me at midnight, call me. Let me know at 8 o'clock you got a problem. But if it's not an emergency, I don't want to hear about it. You got a funny name, send it to me. You got some gossip, don't leave me out. I want to hear what's happening. But I don't want to hear about an angry parent. I don't want to hear about rain or field trip. You know why? I can worry about it all night long. And when I leave my building, I'm done. I've got one of these on my desk, and I do this when I get up. I've got one of these by my gear shifts in my car. And when I pull up in my driveway, I do this because I've got a wife inside that wants to know about my day. I've got 2 dogs that want me to walk. I got an adult child I'm trying to get rid of, and they all want me. And you know what I used to do? I used to do exactly what you do. Walk in my house with a cell phone in one hand and a finger under the other. And what I'm saying to my family is, I'm home at 5 o'clock because that's what you expect out of me, but I'm not really home because something happened in football, and I've got to deal with this parent in the next 45 minutes. And every single day you're taking your jobs home with you. Let me remind you something. You are in a mentally and physically stressful job. And the best thing you can do this school year for your colleagues, for your spouse, for your family, and for yourself is turn it off every single day. When my teachers leave, I give these to them. They get these on day 1 of PD. They got 5 days to decorate them. They decorate them, they bedazzle them, they sparkle them up. We give them to the librarian the first week of school. She displays them as a big art show. The kids come in and they vote on their favorite ones. PTA gives a big yellow gift card to the top 5 winners. And these go back on the teacher's desk, and I reference them all year round. And I get on the intercom in the afternoon and I say, boys and girls, great job today. Don't forget tomorrow's last day book fair. Teachers, would you please turn off your professional lines as you leave the building? Because when my teachers go out of the parking lot, I want their day to be done. I don't want them talking to their parents. I don't want them talking about school. You got a funny meme, send it. You want to talk about what I'm doing for spring break, send it. But I don't want to hear my name in your parent. You know why? Because I will worry about it all day long. One of the best things you can do as an educator is to understand that in order to be the best coach, principal, para, secretary, teacher you can be every single day, you have to turn off your professional line and leave it all behind. And one of the ways you can visually do that is to put this on your desk, put this in your car, and say to yourself, my day is done. I'm not going to talk to anybody about school because I've got a family at home. Because that's what you've got at home, and many of you are missing that time. I challenge you to grab one of these as a visual reminder. If you want to grab these, remind yourself. When you turn off the lights in this gym, turn off the lights in your computer lab, in your office, in the secretary's office, in the nurse's office, in your classroom, turn it off and remind yourself, I'm done with the day, and I'm done with the school. Because whatever is there for you is going to be there for you tomorrow. I challenge you to grab one of these as a constant reminder of what it is you're dealing with, and you've got to refresh yourself every day. The next thing I give everybody that love to share is just a fast fire. Everybody in my home needs a fast fire. I know you think I'm going to say suck it up, right? Maybe that's not what I'm going to say. That would be a great lesson. If you were leaving today and you saw a pacifier by your desk, you could say, well, this baby probably dropped a pacifier because this pacifier represents someone's baby. And you know if you see a pacifier, you think, well, there was a baby here because there's a pacifier. And that's why I give it to my teachers. You know why? Because this represents someone's baby. And I want my teachers to remember every day who they're dealing with. And do you know my teachers forget who they're dealing with? Do you forget who you're dealing with? Someone's baby. And the best way you can remember, whether you're a 3-year-old teacher or whether you're a 12th grade teacher, the best way you can remember who you're dealing with is to put a pacifier on your desk, attach a pacifier to your lanyard to remind yourself of who it is you're dealing with. That 17-year-old snuck the burger on the field trip, got on the flag on his truck, true story. Now you got to decide as a superintendent if you're maybe to go to the award ceremony, and you have every right to take that award ceremony away because they signed a contract on that overnight competition trip. They wouldn't bring in baby, they wouldn't smoke, they wouldn't bring alcohol, they wouldn't stay at their hotel room. And here you got this 17-year-old with a mustache looking like he's Tom Selleck, snuck some burger on the trip out of their truck. Do you know why you're getting ready to get a frantic phone call from a parent? Because the 17-year-old is still someone's baby. I don't care if they snuck burger on their van trip, true story. I don't care if they threw a brick out the bus window and hit a car, true story. I don't care if they flipped every kindergarten classroom, a chair, a table in your room, true story. The bottom line is, every child that you work with is someone's baby. You know how you can remember that? Put that on your desk. You know who forgets this in my building? 4th and 5th grade. Because they're dealing with all those kids. You know who forgets this in this room? Middle school and high school. Do you know who the kids are that play on this court? Someone's baby. And the best way you can remember that is to put a pacifier on your desk. My daughter just moved back to my district. When she interviewed 3 years ago, she called Human Resources and said, I want to let you know that I turned in my application with a fake last name because I don't want any benefit of having my dad's last name because everybody in the district knows it. You see how stupid adult children are? How dumb is that? So she interviewed, and I didn't even know where she was interviewed. I didn't even know who she got hired. She got hired by a friend of mine, Josh. She's about 5 months down the road with me. Her first year as a speech back in January, I texted her about 4:45, and I said, hey, meet me at the subway by your house at 5 o'clock. I'll buy you dinner. Your mom's out of town. I eat dinner at 5 o'clock, so that way we second meal at 10 o'clock and have a reason. Amen. So I texted her at 40:45, meet me at the subway at 5 o'clock. I'll buy you dinner. Your mom's out of town. She texted me back real quick. She said, I can't. I'm still in staff meeting. We get out of school at 3 o'clock. It was 4:45. She was in an hour and 45 minutes staff meeting. So I pulled my cell phone up and pulled Josh's number up. My friend who I worked with for 5 years, her principal, and I texted Josh, why is my daughter still at staff meeting? Do you know she got to school at 7 o'clock this morning? Did you know that nobody was listening to anything you say after the first 30 minutes of your staff meeting? And every time someone picks up a cell phone, they are texting the person right next to them to tell them how dumb it is. You got on staff and it's 4:45 in the afternoon. Can you please hit this stupid staff meeting so I can take my daughter to dinner? And right before I got ready to sit, I stopped myself. 2 reasons. 1, she would have killed me. And 2, he's allowed to do that. We don't have a union in Kentucky to stop a 2-hour staff meeting. But do you know why a 56-year-old would text message his 23-year-old's boss and say why she's still at staff meeting? Because she's still a baby. She's always working on it. Last night I was on the phone with her for an hour because her principal was doing something stupid. And do you know what I want to do? I want to call him and tell him because she's my baby. And she will always be my baby. She got married on December 16th. Do You know her husband got me stocking for me for Christmas? You know why? Because I wanted him to work in married. He didn't marry a successful speech right in their own house. He married my baby. I've been to jail once, I'll go to jail again. Little father in jail. And you know what some of you have forgotten? That you're dealing with someone's baby. Because they're 17. Because they're a football player. Because they can say the football by themselves. I don't care who it is. The bottom line is, everybody on those buses, everybody in those cars, everybody in your computer lab, everybody that you're dealing with on a daily basis is someone's baby. And the best way you can remember that is to put a pacifier on your desk or on your label to remind yourself of that. This is one of my favorite things to share now. This is just a brand new, you're not going to be able to see this, but I'll show it to you anyways. This is just a little ant. It's just a little plastic ant. You get it at 4th of July for a decoration. I don't know why that's a decoration, but you can get it anywhere. But I buy these, they're a piece. I got 500 for $5. And I gave everybody in my building an ant. I want to challenge you to get one of these or run off a sticker of an ant or a picture of an ant and put it on your desk for this reason. I give these to my teachers and I tell them something you already know. Did you know that an ant is the strongest creature in the world? An ant, depending on its species, can carry anywhere from 10 to 100 times its own body weight on its back. You know this because you remember being little, watching this little ant carry a stick or carry a leaf on its back. An ant has a tremendous ability to carry weight on its own back. And I tell my teachers that I want to tell you that sometime this year or sometime next year, you're going to have to carry somebody on your back. And you have the ability to be able to do that. As an educator in this field, when we are all as a family, you're going to be in a place where you're going to have to carry somebody on your back. Let me tell you who it is. Somebody around you. Did you know that somebody in your building is going to go through a divorce this year? Do you know who's going to carry them through your school year? You are. Because you're going to check on them, you're going to see what's going on, and you're going to be in a situation where you've got to carry somebody sitting near you or somebody in the building on your back, and you have the strength to be able to do that. We had a teacher that had kidney failure last year. Walked in her classroom, she was as jaundiced as I ever saw. Never saw somebody that color before. I thought she's going to die right here in this classroom. What a great science lesson. Dead teacher on the floor. Just kidding. I called the ambulance, and they came and got her. She was in the hospital for 7 weeks with a kidney replacement. She was at home for 4 weeks. You got her through that school year? Your colleagues. Because they picked her daughter up every year, and they got her through her science fair project. And they pulled 2 kids out of her class that were real ornery, that were giving her stuff a hard time, that was stressing her out. And her colleagues carried her on her back all school year. And guess what? People say, oh, well, that's not what I signed up for. That's not what I want to do. Let me tell you why you need to be willing to do that. It might be you. It might be you that someone needs to carry through this school year. And guess what? You can do that. Let me tell you who else you're going to carry through your school year. Your parents. You, as an educator, have to carry a parent through the school year. Let me tell you 3 types of parent you carry through the school year. First of all, special ed parents. Can you imagine being a parent of a child that doesn't know how to read facial cues, doesn't know how to read body language, and every day you drop that child off knowing they don't know how to make a friend, and every day as a parent you pray you're going to be able to make a friend? Do you know who's carrying special ed parents through the school year? You are. Because you're text messaging and you're saying, you're going to come home and say that recess was bad, but I watched the whole situation. It wasn't as bad as they think it is. And we have special ed kids that can't read their surroundings, struggle with friendship. Do you know who gets those parents through the school year? You do. Let me tell you another parent you get, and I don't know if you have this, but we have this, migrant parents. We have a ton of them because we're a horse country. Can you imagine this? What if I picked you up and I flew your family to Germany and I said, you've got 5 days to register your child, the school is 5 miles down the road, and you had to take your kindergartner, your 3rd grader, and your 5th grader to a school and walk into school not knowing the language, not knowing how to read the forms, and not knowing what anybody was saying to you. And you had to register your kids there, knowing in 5 days you could leave your kids. Do you know who's carrying your migrant parents in the school year? You are. If you want to see trauma, watch a migrant parent on the first day of school. You know why? They are giving you their kids, and they don't know how to speak the language. They don't know what's going on. They don't know how to read your forms. And you know who's carrying that parent through the school year? You are. Because you were the communication through a translator, through a service. You're translating your newsletters, and you are carrying them through the school year. Let me tell you another parent you don't realize you're carrying through the school year. LGBT parents. You may not think you have those kids. You do. And do you know who's carrying those parents through the school year? You are. That was me. I have an LGBT child. Let me tell you the most traumatic thing I have ever experienced in my life, dropping my child off to high school. Every day I dropped my child off at high school and I prayed every single day. Do you know why? Because I was sending an LGBT child into a volatile situation. And do you know who got me through that school year? 7 teachers who stood up and said, I'm an ally for your child. I'm watching your child. I'm watching him at the football game. I'm watching him in the hallways. He's doing a great job. Guess what? My kid could care less. He tried to be the homecoming queen for 3 years. He would walk in that school nude if we allowed him to, just to get everybody's reaction. He could care less what people thought about him, but not me. Every single day as an LGBT child, I prayed that somebody would love my child and watch over them. And you who got me through high school, 7 teachers that were my child allies and let me know that on a regular basis. You are carrying your LGBT parents through the school year. You know why? Because they are sending your middle schoolers and their high schoolers into a volatile situation, and you need to step up and say, I'm watching your child, and I love your child. I challenge you to put your ant under this. Let me tell you another thing I say to them. An ant can survive on its own, but it can't thrive on its own. What do you think I'm going to say next? You can survive this school year on your own, but you can't thrive on your own. You can shut that softball coach out. You can shut the counselor out. You can say, no, you're not going to put my kids. But your football coach has a different relationship with your kids than you do. Your counselor has a different relationship with your kids. Your librarian has a different relationship with your kids than you do. And when you don't allow other people into your life and work as a team, work as a tribe, work as a colony together, you can survive on your own, but you cannot thrive on your own. I challenge you to put a reminder on your desk that you got to work with people around you and that you're carrying someone through the school year by putting an ant on your desk. And this is the most important thing I want to share with you guys. It's just a non-sweet coffee cup with a dollar drink, just $1, well, $1.25 outside of our life right now. This is my favorite lesson to share. If you've ever seen me share, you know what I'm going to say about this. I share it everywhere. This is my favorite lesson. When I was growing up, we weren't able to celebrate Christmas in schools. I don't know if you guys do that, but in my district, we're not allowed to celebrate any religious holidays. But when I was growing up, in my generation, we did. We had Christmas trees. We sang to the old folks home. The music teacher taught us all the Christmas songs, and we sang all the time. And the tradition in my school was we had a big Christmas party the last day before Christmas break. Everybody brought in a present. You put a boy gift on it or a girl gift on it. You put it in the tree, and you took a present home under the tree from one of your colleagues. Literally, my favorite day of the school year. 3rd grade, I was super excited. My mother took me to the drugstore. She let me get a package of squirt guns. Had a little teeny slice squirt gun, a medium, and a big giant bazooka squirt gun that held like a gallon of water. And she let me buy a package of 100 water balloons. So as an 8-year-old child, I wrapped up 3 squirt guns and 100 water balloons. Best gift ever for a gift exchange. I had decided, and I told my mom that I was going to put my own gift when I got to the gift exchange in 3rd grade. Because the year before, in 2nd grade, my arch rival, Liddy Staley, walked in with this small rectangular box, and he said, hey, I know you love Matchbox cars, so I got 6 Matchbox cars and I taped them all together, so make sure you get this long rectangular box. I said, okay, of course, because I love Matchbox cars. And when I ripped that paper open, it was actually a Barbie doll. And he made fun of me all year. He called me Barbie boy. He got all the boys to call me Barbie boy. And I told my mom when I left, I said, I'm not going to bring up a Barbie doll. I'm not bringing up a book. I'm just going to go ahead and put my own gift. She said, I'm going to thank you to do that. That's not the way gift exchange works. She had already got me squirted, so she wanted me to bring them home. When I left that day in the kitchen, she stepped in front of me. She said, you bring those squirt guns home and you see what's going to happen to you. I said, I know what's going to happen to you. You're going to spank me. And then I'm going to throw water on you, and I'm going to go hide for 4 hours. I didn't care. I literally got spanked every day at my house. Who cares about spanking? There was no contraction to say you were going to spank me if I brought those squirt guns home. So I'm on the bus, super excited. I know exactly what I'm getting. 3 bus stops up, my friend Roxanne gets on the bus. She didn't have a lot of friends for 2 reasons. One, she's shouting to filter, which I find hilarious. Because she walks around the building every day, offending every adult. Going, you look really fat today. That outfit's horrible. What's going on with your hair? I hate your haircut. She says whatever she's thinking, and I'm usually thinking the same thing, but I would never say because I'm shy, and I just follow her around and we both get in trouble all the time. And my friends got to shy away from her because she's so bold. But she also doesn't have a lot of friends because she's coming from a struggling home. She lives with a single mom. She's got 3 brothers and sisters. Her mother's housekeeper in a little 10-room hotel in my small community. Never seen the dad before. She constantly comes to school dirty. She never has buttons on her shirt. The teachers are trying to set up and pin them together. Her 2nd grade teacher stayed in her shirt all the way up because she didn't have any buttons on her. I've seen her come to school with no shoes with only one shoe on. Because unlike me, she doesn't have an extra pair of shoes. If I can't find my shoe, I wear my Sunday school shoes to school. She doesn't have Sunday school shoes. And when she can't find a shoe, she comes to school with one shoe on and one shoe off, and the counselor has to help her. My friends don't get this, and they kind of shy away from her, but I think she's great. I don't care. She plops down right next to me, 2 bus stops up, and she's literally holding this exact cup. And I said, "What's that?" She said, "Oh, it's for the gift exchange." She said, "We don't have any wrapping paper in my house. Mr. Walter said just to bring something in and he would wrap it for me." I realized where the cup came from. My grandmother was staying in this little small hotel because it was Christmas time. I had waved at her mom the night before as she was cleaning the room next to my grandmother's. My grandmother was drinking out of this cup. And I realized that she had nothing to bring to our gift exchange, so she brought a used coffee cup from the local hotel. And my first thought was, wow, what a terrible gift. My second thought was, wait a minute, what a terrible gift. I'm going to talk to Lee Staley and pull that gift, and he's going to go home with a used coffee cup, and that's worse than the bargain on. But my third thought was, because I was a very sensitive child, if Lenny Staley gets a hold of this cup, he's going to make fun of my friend Roxanne, and she's going to go home and feel bad about her home life. So I quickly realized 2 bus stops up that I wasn't going home with a squirt gun, I was going home with a used coffee cup. Because it was more important for me, for my friend to have a good day, than it was for me to have a squirt gun. So we get into the classroom and we're all standing around the tree and we're passing gifts around, trying to guess what they were, and that's what the tradition was. I'm watching her out the corner of my eye. She's back talking to Mr. Walters at his desk, and they go back to his closet. They're playing around in his closet for around 15 minutes. She turns around and she's got a beautifully wrapped gift. She comes up and she starts guessing with everybody else. I had decided at recess that I was going to tell Mr. Walters what I wanted to do, because the only way to guarantee that I would get this cup would be for him to be in on this, and for him to call my name first about whose name he picked. So I was going to tell him what I needed him to do. But because of my ADHD, I completely forgot. I don't know what happened. Something fun happened in recess. But I completely forgot to tell him. So we're in the classroom in a big circle sitting around this tree in Rockledge, Florida on December 17th. I can tell you who was sitting next to me. I can tell you what my teacher was wearing, because how this day affected me. And I'm literally praying as an 8-year-old child that he will call my name so I can make a big deal about the coffee cup and nobody makes fun of it. He calls the first name, it's not me, but they don't get the cup. Calls the second name, not me, they don't get the cup. Calls the third name, still not me, they don't get the cup. Fourth name he calls is Renee Luce. Sweetest girl in the world, prettiest girl you've ever met. She was my girlfriend in kindergarten and 5th grade. She was also Lee Staley's girlfriend. She was a little free with her love. That's kind of she had like 5 boyfriends because she was so pretty. We didn't care. We just followed her around. She walks up and she picks up the cup. And I think to myself, well, this is the second best scenario. Because in the 6 years I've known her, I've never heard her say anything mean to anybody. But the bottom line is she's getting ready to go to this coffee cup from our local hotel. How good can that be? So now I start praying for Renee. And I start praying that she's going to have a great reaction. So she rips open the paper, and she holds up the cup, and inside the cup are 10 multicolored permanent Sharpie markers and a gigantic king-size Snickers bar. And before she can say anything, Mr. Walters chimes in and says, "Oh my gosh, Renee, you got an autograph cup. We're all going to be able to pick a different permanent marker and sign our name in that cup. And you're going to go home with a cup with all your friends' names on it that you're going to keep forever." That is the best gift I've ever seen. That is literally the moment in my life when I decided to become an educator. Literally. When someone says, "Why are you an educator?" guess what I can tell them? I can tell the time, the place, and the 2 people that were sitting next to me. Do you know why? Because I had an educator in my life that understood the most important thing you can ever give a child is their dignity. And I watched that in my own life. And when you choose to step up and give every child that you work with love, respect, encouragement, and allow them to walk away from your peers and their peers with their dignity, it is life-changing. No matter how they're acting, no matter what sport they play, no matter what pronoun they want to be called, no matter what home life they come from, when you love, encourage, and respect every child in front of you and allow them to walk away from you with dignity, it is life-changing for everybody who witnesses that. And it literally changed my life. I got off the bus that day. My mom was standing there with her arms crossed with a hot dog strap in her hand. If you're my age, you know exactly what that means. She had one of those long orange hot dog straps she's going to win me with. Got to bust your butt cheeks, get both your legs. She was going to win me all the way out because she knew I was going to have those squirt guns. And I got off the bus and I took 2 gigantic things and I said, "Mom, I don't want to be a zookeeper anymore. I want to be a teacher. Let me tell you why." And I told her the story of an educator in my life who understood the most important thing you can ever do for a child this year is give them their dignity. No matter how they're acting, no matter what home life they come from, no matter what pronoun they want to be called, or no matter how they're treating you, when you step up and give love, encouragement, and respect to every child in front of you, it is life-changing for those kids. And let me tell you what else is life-changing. When you choose the opposite. When you choose to be disrespectful to a child because you don't like their behavior, you don't like their lifestyle, you don't like the color of hair they have, when you as an educator decide to be disrespectful in front of your peers, it is life-changing. And I can give you a personal example of that. Because my 26-year-old son, when he was a 16-year-old junior in high school, decided he wanted to wear nail polish to school. I know celebrities do that now. They didn't do it 10 years ago. We told him absolutely not. He was in a small Christian school. You're not doing that. You're going to get suspended. We cried about it all weekend. We prayed about it all weekend. But in the end, we allowed him to do it anyways because we knew exactly why he wanted to do it. What do you think happened in school? Well, this happened with my teachers. You said, wow, you use school colors. How cool is that? Wow, that's sparkling. What brand is that? But not his math teacher. His math teacher thought it was more important to tell everybody in the classroom what he thought about my son morally than it was to allow my son to walk out there with love, respect, encouragement, and his dignity, and it completely changed my son's life. Because the next day, he was a different child. He was now a depressed student. He didn't want to go to school anymore. He dropped out of drama. That December before that January was the last time he's ever stepped foot in the church. He didn't even know on Christmas Eve. Do you know why? Because a Christian educator in his life thought it was more important to tell everybody in the classroom what he thought about my son morally than it was to step up and give my son love, respect, and encouragement. And guess what my son already did? Exactly what he thought. That's why he wore nail polish in the first place. You, every single day, have kids standing in front of you with nondescript coffee cups, waiting for one of you to step up and love them, and encourage them, and respect them, no matter who they are, no matter what lifestyle they're living, no matter what home they're coming from. You have an obligation as an educator to step up and love them, encourage them, and respect them, and show that to all your peers and all their peers, and it's life-changing when you choose to do that. So this is my challenge for you. Next time you go to the Dollar Tree, next time you go to Walmart, next time you go to Family Dollar, wherever you shop, grab one of these. They're less than $2. Put it on your desk, fill it with your clear pens, fill it with your Sharpies, fill it with your pencils that you've sharpened, or the ones you need to sharpen tomorrow morning. And every time you go to that cup and say, why is that not an Oklahoma cup? Why is that not a Star Wars cup? Why is that not a Raven cup? You remind yourself of this very moment. And you remind yourself as a coach, as an administrator, as a teacher, as a parent, as a counselor, as a school nurse, that nondescript coffee cup is on your desk. It reminds you every single day that you have a kid standing in front of you with a nondescript coffee cup, waiting for someone in your building to step up and love them, encourage them, respect them, and allow them to walk away from you when they're due. And use that as a constant reminder of the kids that you're dealing with. So I started today by saying I have two goals. My first goal is for you. Whether you're the volleyball coach or the softball coach, whether you coach football, or you're a third grade teacher, whether you're the school nurse or the superintendent, my first goal is for you. For you to walk out here with one or two things that you might need to hear to get you to school year. So what did you hear for you? Do you need to accept someone's personality? Because you're dealing with people in your friend that don't look like you or don't go to your church. And now you know you've got to realize that to be able to use the role model. Do you need to accept people's mistakes because you get really mad and somebody does the same thing over again? What did you hear for you? Because my first goal was for you to walk out of here with something that will help you this school year. My second goal was the people that you work with. For you to be able to continue a conversation with the people that you work with. So what did you hear for your colleagues? What can you talk about with your grade level, with your whole staff, with the front office? Do you need to talk about planning fun activities? Because you've been here 6 years, you don't know everybody. You need to grab everybody a pacifier and say, hey, I know we're dealing with high schoolers. The bottom line is there's still somebody's baby. My second goal is to give you something to talk about with your coaches, with your front office, with your grade level. Well, this was my real goal. My real goal was to help you understand that no matter what position you're in, no matter what kids you're working with, every single one of you are working with a kid standing in front of you every day with a nondescript coffee cup, waiting for someone to love them, encourage them, respect them, and allow them to walk away from your peers and their peers with their dignity. So I challenge you to grab a white nondescript coffee cup and put it on your desk as a constant reminder of that. So if you get 3 weeks down the road and you can't remember what I said, if you've got any great ideas for a video, I will not give you any credit for it, but thank you now for the good ideas. I monitor Instagram every day. When I get to the airport, I go monitor Instagram. I don't look at Facebook. I have too many followers. I don't look at TikTok. Kids are mean. They call me Fat Harry. I don't care. They hear that. But I monitor Instagram every day. If you message me on Instagram, if you've got anything great to say, if you need any suggestions, if you message me on Instagram, you will get a message back from me. I also have a webpage that has all my t-shirts on there, but there's a little button that you can click, and it looks like you're wanting me to come see you, but that's my email. And if you get in a situation, you say, how do I deal with this, or you've got any great ideas for videos, or you can't remember what I said about like 2 weeks down the road, if you message me off that button on my webpage, it will come directly to me, and I promise I will email you back, because I want to get encouragement for you. But I hope I met my goal twice a day. I hope that you as a coach, as a superintendent, as a principal, as a parent, as a school nurse, as a counselor, as whatever you are, I hope that you're going to walk out here with 1 or 2 things that you need to hear to get you through the school year, that you're going to walk out here with 1 or 2 things that you can talk about with your colleagues, but most importantly, that you understand the importance of your job. That every single one of you, no matter who you work with, are dealing with kids standing in front of you with a non-Mr. coffee cup, waiting for someone to step up and love them, respect them, encourage them, and allow them to walk away from you with your dignity. So I greatly appreciate your time and opportunity to be able to be here. I will be praying for you guys. I'm literally going to walk out that door as he's talking so I can get out of here before you get out in the parking lot, because I've got a 1 o'clock flight in Tulsa. But please, message me on Instagram, email me. I would love to talk to you about anything going on in your life. I would love to hear your ideas, but I have my goals. I hope you've got 1 or 2 things that are going to help you through the school year. I hope you've got something you can talk about with your conversations with your colleagues that you're here with, that you left behind, but most importantly, that you understand the importance of your job. So I appreciate the opportunity to come. I'll be praying for you, and I ask the same thing. Thank you so very much. Thank you, John.
Thank you for coming. As much as you don't have anything, again, thank you. Hope you all enjoyed it. It was good.
But I mean, like, yeah, you can have the back.